Hello, my fiery friends, the Infernoman here with the latest in budget deck technology. And for today's deck tech, we're going to be covering something that is extremely toxic. I'm serious, guys. This deck is a little disgusting, but we're going to still try to play it as fair as possible on a budget. Going into the stats real quick for this deck, you can see the curve right here averages out to about a 1.8. Creature-wise, we have 24 in the deck. We have 8 instants, 4 sorceries, 3 enchantments, and 21 lands. I know that is an interesting mix right here, and technically, if you're playing Rot Priest, you might want to have more spells, but we want to spread out what we're doing so that way we can make sure we're not all in on one game plan. Also, as you can see, as we put up the actual budget on the screen, for Arena, this is hitting what I would consider the limit for what is considered budget, at least in my opinion. And if you do want to play this in paper, well, it's a little pricey right now, and that's only because the Rot Priest itself is so expensive. So as you can see, our Toxic Environment deck is basically a Monoi Green mid-range / aggro deck with the emphasis of a built-in game plan of using Toxic to put poison counters on our opponent, or we can then have Death Touch and still put poison counters on our opponent. So basically, if you haven't seen this before, we've done a deck tech a while ago where we did a Golgari Finn the Fangbearer deck, which focused again on trying to poison out our opponent. But this time around, we can allow ourselves to go mono green because of 2 new cards that were added in from Phyrexia All Will Be One: Venerated Rot Priest and Bloated Contaminator. To begin, let's discuss these cards real quick. You probably have seen these before, but for those who are still unaware, Venerated Rot Priest is a 1-mana Phyrexian Druid 1/2 with Toxic 1. Whenever a creature you control becomes a target of a spell, target opponent gets a poison counter. Basically, with this card, you're going to just try to get some damage in, try to get some poison counters on our opponent, and then hopefully just close out the game by getting those 10 counters on them. Otherwise, your other option is going to be Bloated Contaminator. This 3-mana Phyrexian Beast with Trample and Toxic 1 is whenever Bloated Contaminator deals combat damage to a player, proliferate. In other words, as long as this creature deals some combat damage to our player, technically they're going to get 2 poison counters instead of 1 because of the proliferate ability and Toxic. So with these 2 cards together, we actually have a pretty gnarly game plan that we can put. However, we want to make sure that they get a little bit of extra support. So let's talk about the other creatures in the deck. In the deck, we also have Finn the Fangbearer. As I mentioned this before, this card, of course, is very helpful for us. It relies, however, on Death Touch versus Toxic to put poison counters on our opponent. However, we do have some creatures that support this plan. When Toxic Scorpion enters the battlefield, another target creature we control will gain Death Touch. We can put the Death Touch on top of Venerated Rot Priest or even Bloated Contaminator so we can stack up poison counters even faster. Venom Connoisseur is kind of a little bit more different. With Venom Connoisseur, whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, the Connoisseur will gain Death Touch. And if it's the second time that this ability resolves, then all of our creatures will gain Death Touch. So we can break this down, and hopefully then maybe later into the mid or late game, we can have it as a finisher. We can maybe put down another 2 creatures, and then everything gets Death Touch. So that means everything, with even Finn out, should hopefully put enough poison counters to win the game, sometimes just on the spot. Now with that, our other support creatures that will help us out here are going to be Ronos the Indomitable, which allow us to then either pump one of our creatures, or it's a very powerful blocker as long as we have a creature of power 4 or greater. Thankfully, Bloated Contaminator is already a 4/4, or if we pump up, say, Venom Connoisseur, then Ronos can then turn itself on. Our only other creature that we have in the deck that's very powerful is Questing Beast. I don't really have anything else to say about Questing Beast. It's an awesome card, it's powerful, it synergizes very well with our game plan, it's an amazing blocker and attacker. With that, the rest of your plan is just to hopefully either draw cards or then protect our stuff while we then accumulate more poison counters on our opponent. Season of Growth as an enchantment basically can allow us to scry 1 whenever a creature enters the battlefield, and then anytime we cast a spell that targets a creature we control, we draw a card. This synergizes perfectly with the Rot Priest because if we keep putting stuff on while Rot Priest is out, it'll then put more poison counters onto our opponent, which will allow us to draw more cards and hopefully keep chaining off into more and more stuff. With that, our actual protection spells are going to be Blizzard Brawl, which is great because technically it's a fight mechanic, but also it gives our creature indestructible if we have at least 3 or more snow permanents, which is going to be our lands. We have Tamiyo Safekeeping, Hexproof, Indestructible, Gain us some life, Tyvar Stand, Hexproof, Indestructible, or we can scale it up to then hopefully maybe we can then run our opponent over if we just want to do actual damage to them. Otherwise, for your land base, 19 snow-covered forests, so again, that's for Blizzard Brawl, and Ginger Brute Cabin. These are hopefully going to come down in the mid to late game so we can get some food tokens and then hopefully stabilize maybe if we're a little low on life. For your actual sideboard, Haywire Might is for your artifact and enchantment hate, but this is mostly for non-creatures, only because we can deal with creatures already in the main deck. Soul Guide Lantern as your graveyard hate. Destiny Spinner is to deal with control decks to protect them from counter spells. Wild Shape can be mixed and matched with any of our other protection spells here, since Wild Shape shape has a little bit more flexibility. It won't give one of our creatures indestructible, but if that's something you don't need, we can then swap them in and out with other stuff. And finally, Infectious Bite and Master's Rebuke. Technically, these two cards you could actually run even 4 ofs, but it really depends on what the meta is holding. The only major reason why you want to debate between these two is Infectious Bite, for example, will give us poison counters, which is what we primarily want. However, it will not hit Planeswalkers. Master's Rebuke, however, will hit Planeswalkers, but does not give us an extra poison counter. So this one's going to be up to personal preference. I would say for now, we'll put both in the deck, 2 of each, but depending on how the meta shifts, you probably could get away with a whole set of them. Otherwise, that's basically the whole deck for you in a nutshell. Let's go ahead, let's get into a couple matches and have fun with this deck. But before we continue, if you do like any of the content that I do, please like, follow, and subscribe wherever you watch the content so you don't miss out on any of the gameplay, booster pack openings, deck decks, and so much more. Okay, everybody, so here we go. We're playing our green toxic environment deck on a budget, and okay, let's see. We do have a toxic creature. We have Venom Connoisseur, which can then give itself Death Touch, and we have some protection. I think we can keep this and see if we can make it work. They've got Jingatha, so that might either mean it is some kind of burn deck or probably a sacrifice deck. We'll see. Oh, okay. It is the heroic pump. I don't even know what to call that anymore. You know what deck I'm talking about, everybody. Okay, so Venom Connoisseur. You know what deck I'm talking about. So they're going to pump their creatures as well. Ancestral Anger. It's not protected. Not that we were going to do anything right now. Reckless Rage. Oh boy. Okay. Opponent's off to a strong start here. Alright. Third Snow-Covered Forest. Actually, Venom Connoisseur. And we will pass. Alright. Opponent's got the edge here. Favored Hoplite. But we're going to see if we can try to at least go through this. Okay, they got all the Hoplites they need. Gain some life, protect it. No swings. Okay, we have a Rot Priest, which is great. Alright, so with that, Rot Priest coming down. We then will swing with the Connoisseur. Now that it has Death Touch. We're down to 16. Bloated Contaminator. Okay, down to 2 cards. We're going to let our opponent deal some damage here. Defiant Strike. We're down to 10. A little scary, but we can still get there. Illuminator Virtuoso. Okay, Season of Growth. We will then swing with Rot Priest. Get the poison going. Okay, so we have Tyver's Stand now to protect us, and that's all we got. Virtuoso. As long as they don't have a card to protect the Virtuoso, we should be able to then sponge a hit here. Encourage twice. Draw and discard. They don't have it. Does our opponent swing here? They do. Big swing. Virtuoso. Blocking here. We block here. We pay nothing. Protect the Contaminator. They get a poison counter. We draw a card. Resting Beast is not bad. So we sponge this hit. Down to 7. They lose their Virtuoso, which is great. Okay, they're out of cards, which is nice for us. Questing Beast. Scry. Land to the bottom. We don't need that anymore. Questing Beast goes swinging, and that's pretty much it. I want to swing with more, but we got to make sure we can protect ourselves in the backswing. Defiant Strike. They draw a card. 10th District Legionnaire. Big swing here. Favored Hoplite. There dies. Favored Hoplite here. That puts us down to 1. A little scary, but we can get there, everybody. Okay. Toxic Scorpion. We will then put Death Touch on the Rot Priest. Another blow to Contaminator, which is fine. Just swing with Questing Beast. Down to 7. Not exactly how I was anticipating this deck to roll, but it's working. Oh, okay, we got a win. Again, that wasn't exactly how I wanted this deck to win. That wasn't the point. But I guess I'll take it. So, hey. Okay, everybody. So here we go. We are playing our deck on a budget here. Our Toxic Environment deck. And not too bad right here. We have our Bloated Contaminated Ronos, which is a ways away. Toxic Scorpion. Blizzard Brawl can knock stuff out. Okay, I think we'll keep this. Again, it's not ideal, but we can make this work. Okay, we got a Tamiyo safekeeping, which is great. We will pass the turn here. Gonna come down to the Scorpion, everybody. Let's just see what happens. Okay, opponent does not play anything. That's fine. Another Toxic Scorpion. Play one and see what happens. All right. Fatal push it. That's fine. That's okay. Narset. A little scary in the sense that they'll dig for something, but I'm not worried again. Most likely they are a control deck. Another fatal push. Okay, that's fine. Ronos coming down. Good luck dealing with a Ronos opponent. Fatal push can't deal with that.
Just the trick for this.
Opponent got out a counterspell / removal. Okay, so we've got Snow-Covered Forest. Toxic Scorpion. Gives that Death Touch, not that it matters. We'll pass here. Okay, so the game plan right now is we can get that Bloated Contaminator out and protect it. Then what we will do is we can then hopefully go off with Ronos. Just need to wait one turn. Narset. Okay, so they did tap out, which is great. That means we can bring in Bloated Contaminator and protect
No
it.
one is more prepared than me.
They're digging.
Meditate and prepare.
They have a Consider, which is fine. Okay, another land. Bloated Contaminator coming down. We go swinging. Take out the Narset. We don't want them digging for any more cards.
I was not prepared.
I swear, if I didn't tell you guys earlier that we were a Toxic deck, you'd think we would be some kind of Stompy deck. Okay. So they consider surveilling and digging for cards. They need to find answers, basically. Ooh, that Thoughtseize would have been scary. Good thing we avoided that. Okay. So I guess we're going to now be in Stompy mode here just to beat our opponent out. Let's pump. We can at least close this out quicker. There you go. Swinging here. Down to 9. Wow, I wasn't expecting us to do this, but it's going to work. Okay. 2 counters. Sharp Typhoon. That's okay. Not something I worry about. Okay, another land. They're down to 9, so we could, in theory... Okay, this is perfect. There we go. Again, not exactly how I was expecting to win with this deck. I was not going for the Stompy win, but at least that shows you that the deck is versatile enough where you don't have to get the counters on it to get to the victory. Okay, everybody, so here we go. We are playing our Toxic Environment deck on a budget, and this is not ideal. I think we should mulligan here and see what we can try to get instead. All right, so with this, we've got... It's a little slow, but I think this is probably as good as it's going to get, so we'll keep this. We'll put back the Toxic Scorpion. I want to make sure we have enough lands to then do our thing. Okay, they're playing... Oh, they're playing Elves. All right. This is going to be fun. Yay, Elves. Elvish War Master coming in. No surprise. It's a good card. Okay, Finn is actually pretty nice here. So, let's do it this way. We will put down Venom Connoisseur. So the way we can do this is... Okay, they got Realm Walker. That's fine. Finn comes down next turn. Turns on Death Touch for this, and then we can go swinging. In here. Go swinging. Force through that damage. Alright. 2 poison counters online. Okay, we can get down Bloated Contaminator and protect it, then we should be okay, at least for the time being. They're running out of cards. They're definitely going to make a lot of stuff here, and they're going to go wide. But that shouldn't be too bad for us right now. We have really good... Finn already can block stuff pretty well. Another Forest. So Bloated Contaminator can come down. All right. Go swinging again. All right, that's here. All right, we will wait for that. Okay, nothing yet. Season of Growth is nice. That does help us out. Okay, so we're gonna go swinging here, and hopefully we can just start doing some nasty damage here. Is that last card, I swear, Collecting Company? I swear if it is. Block, block, and block. All right, we will protect. All right, Venerated Rot Priest here is great. That's what we wanted. All right, proliferate. Up to 4 counters. Rot Priest coming down. Scry. Okay, that's not too bad. We'll keep that. We just want to at least get a couple more creatures out so we can kind of gum up the board while we just start getting more aggressive with our swings. Looming March for opponents. They still have 1 card in hand. I really would like to know what that card is, but I guess we'll find out hopefully soon. They do not. Wise choice, opponent. All right. Venom Connoisseur. What do we get? Okay, Ronos. Not too bad for the future. Swing with the Contaminator and see what happens. Ooh, they turn on their Hydra. Interesting. Okay, that's fine. Will they double chump block here? They will. Blow to Contaminator. Getting protected. We draw a card. Up to 5 poison. They lose their creature land, which is great. So they're starting to run out of options here. They're fizzling pretty hard. I'm honestly surprised this Realm Walker is not really doing much with them. Oh, well, there you go, everybody. Wow, that was nice. Usually elves don't usually fizzle out that bad, but I'll take it. Okay, everybody, so here we go. We are playing our Toxic Environment deck on a budget, and we don't have any actual payoffs here, so let's mulligan and see if we can get one of our actual toxic creatures. Okay, so this actually looks pretty good right here. This is more or less what we want, so we're going to keep this, and I think we'll put back the Venom Connoisseur, play a Forest, and we'll pass. The only reason why we're passing, we don't want to put down Venerated Rot Priest is, honestly, if we're on the play here, we need to make sure, okay, we're playing some kind of Gruul. We will play Finn first. The reason why you want to play Finn first here is with the Rot Priest, I just want to keep that protected because that for sure at least will get us some more poison. Another Forest. Okay. Ooh, they're playing dinosaurs. Well, this is going to be fun. Okay, so Rot Priest. We then go swinging with Finn. All right, so that's 2 poison counters on board. We're going to get this going, everybody. Okay, so next, we can put Toxic Scorpion out, and that will give the Rot Priest Death Touch with, we can then trigger off even more poison. Let's see what our opponent does. Okay, definitely a dinosaur deck. Marauding Raptor. That's cute. Okay, they give their dinosaur haste. That's okay. They go swinging. No blocks. Down to 18. Savage Stomp. Tyvar Stand. Give her protection. So therefore, we don't have to worry about anything there. I was kind of surprised they did that because, wait, this actually has Death Touch, so wouldn't that have killed it? That's fine, it's fine. Either way, we already got more poison counters. Opponent Savage Stomping again. That's fine. They're up to 5 poison counters now, which is actually great for us. Venom Connoisseur. Finn hits him. They're up to 7. So we're pretty good right now in terms of where we want to be at. If we could just get at least another land down, actually, we'd be pretty solid. Shifting Ceratops. A little scary, but not the worst. Opponent goes swinging here. We're going to have to take that hit. It's going to hurt a lot. But we'll be fine. Down to 7. Second Marauding Raptor. Okay, so we did get our another Forest. Is this too late, though? We'll find out right now. Okay. Let's see. We will play Scorpion. Venom Connoisseur. We go swinging. All right. Up to 9. We just need to survive a hit here, and we're good. Shifting serve. Oh, okay, I think we lost here. Well, this sucks. Oh well, it's fine, everybody. Block the raptor. Sadly, we just didn't have anything else to stop this with. They stomped us. That's fine, everybody. Well, we came close. Again, I ain't gonna be mad. And there you have it, everybody. So that was our Toxic Environment deck. So you let me know in the comments below. What do you think? This actually was, I don't even know how to explain this. This was actually a little bit more unorthodox than I thought it was. Now, yes, I know I mentioned, we're not really relying completely on Venerated Rock Priest or Bloated Contaminator to do the toxic damage. One thing I underestimated with this deck was the fact that we actually can kind of plan to be a bit more of a stompy-ish deck than I thought we did, which is actually kind of nice. I mean, granted, this is obviously far cry from the actual Monoi Green deck that's running rampant out there in the format. So obviously, we're not going to be as maybe hugely stompy as they are, but we can still pull it off in a pinch. Also, what's kind of cool about this deck is, again, since we're not relying on one specific strategy to get to victory, it allows our deck to be a lot more versatile than we planned, which is actually really good for us, and it allows us to actually play a little bit more aggressively because, again, we have options in terms of how we can get there. Now, if you're looking to upgrade this deck, this is actually a version that I kind of came up with myself. Some people may argue that if you're going to play Venerated Rot Priest, you might want to play a little bit more unfairly and then go into maybe blue. For that, you can have more tempo plays, so you can have more counter spells. But personally, for me, I think black is actually going to be the best option for us, and a couple reasons why. One, we will have access again to Shovel Bane of Monsters. We can bring in Infused with Vitality to allow us to be a lot more reckless, giving one of our toxic creatures Death Touch, which also will synergize much better with Fang the Fangbearer. Billow Skull Dweller, speaking of that synergy, is extremely well designed for this. It was like made for this deck. You have Death Touch and Toxic on it, which then can trigger off Finn and make this tiny little one drop a very powerful addition if we play it correctly and at the right time. Necrogen Rot Priest will also be added in, replacing the Questing Beast, only just because, again, this has a lot better synergy with the Questing Beast. It's also cheaper if you actually don't mind that, and it's a great blocker that can do a lot of stuff for us. In terms of other changes, we're going to be cutting some Venom Connoisseur. We'll bring in the Infectious Bite now into the main deck because we want those poison counters and we want to emphasize that a lot more. We'll bring in March of Burgeoning Light, only 2 copies of, because again, we don't have too many targets, but we definitely want to be able to see if we can bring in all of our Venerated Rot Priests as quick as possible to then poison out our opponent. And because of these changes to the deck, we actually don't have to lean into snow-covered forests anymore. We're going to now completely go into a dual land setup, so we'll have our Overgrown Tombs, our Pathway lands, Blooming Marshes, and a copy of Beseiju. Granted, yes, some people may argue that you may want Castle Lockwayne, but it'd be really awkward for us to have that on the early game, and we can't really use it because the only thing it's going to really benefit is going to be the Billow Skull Dweller, so you want to make sure you have green mana at the start of your match. As far as your sideboard, you can then put in copies of Thoughtseize against control decks out there. You'll have another set of copies of Infectious Bite, so the whole set is going to be in this deck. 2 copies still of Soul Guide Lantern, doesn't change. Same with the Haim Wire Mites. For mass protection, we'll now bring in Heroic Intervention into the deck. We'll bring in 2 copies of Assassin's Trophy as your catch-all to destroy anything you need to. And instead of having those Questing Beasts gone, we're now going to have instead Thrun, Breaker of Silence. For a 5-mana Troll Shaman, this spell not only can be countered, it has Trample, it can then have Indestructible as long as it's our turn, and basically it just can't be touched unless if it's a green spell our opponent has, which means against certain decks, this card hoses a lot of stuff, but it is a little tricky to play, so just make sure to bring it in when you need to in the right match. But overall, everyone, you tell me in the comments below, what do you think? Are you a fan of Toxic? Are you a fan of Stompy? Do you like maybe just trying out a deck that has multiple layers of synergies and options for you to get to victory? Let me know in the comments below, and I would love to hear from you. To be perfectly honest, my only final thing I'm just going to say is I'm still a little conflicted about how Venerated Rot Priest plays. I know our version of the deck plays it a lot more fairly than other decks out there. Still, I think the card is actually pretty good, but it is, again, something that I know a lot of people absolutely hate. Personally, for me, playing it both with it and against it, it does actually die quite a bit. So yes, you will get a poison counter out of it if you try to get rid of it, but that's actually not the end of the world. As long as you do plan accordingly, the card is actually not as bad as some people think it is. Maybe it is a little too early to talk about it this way, but otherwise, regardless of however you feel about just Venerated Rot Priest, if you are a fan of Stompy decks with a twist on how to get to victory, give this deck a try, and I assure you, you will not be disappointed.
That's all I have for you today. Thanks again for watching, everyone, and just remember that no matter what you do play in the game of life, always be sure to burn bright. Later!